All right. Hello, everybody.
We finally got there.
Yes, we're going to be messing around, and I don't know if Tom can be heard, but
I think I can,
he's
at least on my streams. I'm not sure if I'm coming through clear on yours or not.
all right. Well, we're going to try and recreate what was
Oh,
what I showed earlier. So, with no further ado, I'm going to just start into this. So I'm going to hit the tab key, and I'm going to get a text node, and we'll link up to it, and we're going to set the text node to Natron, and we're going to set our font size to 100, and we're going to set it to center interact. That way, when we attach this to a 3D node, a Gimmick 3D extrude, it will rotate around this, and this will be our pivot point. Okay, so we're going to do 3D extrude. And for the 3D extrude, we're going to set our first thing we're going to do is we need to be able to see this. So one of the tricks with this is that we have to go into the advanced options. We have to
click on one of the features. It's not a bug.
We have to click on preview draft mode, and then we have to switch to layer 1.
Which I'm not seeing because your picture is in the way. So those are all settings that are a little bit lower.
Okay, hold on.
Than the main one.
Let's switch to. Hold on.
There you go. Now we can see it so that they see what you're clicking on. Hit the layer 1 again.
So we went from layer 0 to layer 1. And then we enabled preview draft mode here.
Now, why did you click that, the preview draft mode? Why do we need to select that?
Okay, so the reason that we're picking preview draft mode is that you'll notice that Natron, by default, for some reason, Gimmick does not. If we set this back to 0 and turn off preview draft mode, which are the defaults, we don't get anything. Our text output is not going into our Extrude 3D, or it's going in, but we're not getting anything out to our viewer now. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it to, first we're going to turn on our preview draft. And as you can see, we don't see anything. That's because our output is actually on layer 1. And the preview draft mode actually corrects the image scale. You can see this is distorted, and when we go to preview draft mode, it corrects it so that it looks the correct size. Okay?
Oh.
This correct aspect ratio. So now we're going to zero out our angles. So our X angle we're going to set to 0. Our Y angle we're going to set to 0, and our Z angle we're going to set to 0. And we're going to be playing with rotating it around using the Y angle. For the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to increase the size of Natron inside of the words inside of our view. So I'm going to bring it from, it's set by default to a size of 0.5. This is how big the image is. And as you can see, when we drag it to the right, it makes it bigger. Left makes it smaller. I'm going to set it to 0.8 so that it takes up most of the screen, leaves us a little bit buffer on each side.
Now for the initial size of the text itself, does that matter?
The initial size of the text node, I set it to a font size of 100. that's what I had in my original project. It hopefully is going to give us the same results, although I'm beginning to question it. It looks a little off to me. But the larger your font size, actually, the better or the thinner your text becomes, and the flatter it will become. So here, let's go back. I'm going to go back to our extrude node, and we're going to pull it out to the side a little bit so that we can see it a little bit better. And you can see that by changing our font size, I've gone back to our font node. I'm going to actually minimize this so we're only looking at the font size and the text, because those are the only two things we've changed. When I reduce the font size, it makes it actually thicker, but it rounds it off at the top and the bottom. So we want to get this a little bit thinner till we get it to a nice thickness. Actually, I'm thinking I'm going to go with it around, we'll go with it around 300. Oh, no, I don't like that. That's too thin. All right. I have turbo mode enabled on my system. If you right click, you can see that there's this auto turbo mode. I believe that that is what is causing, it causes your screen to update, but it sometimes gives false results. So I'm going to change that back down to 200. That's better.
There you go.
Like that.
That looks good.
All right. So we're going to go back to our 3D extrude node, and we're going to zero this out. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to switch this. Currently it's set to Giro shading. We're going to be switching it to dots because we want to have little dots for our Natron. Now this is giving a slightly different result than what I had on mine. If I bring it up to full screen, you can see that this actually changes based off of how zoomed in you are on your view. If we actually set this to 1:1, this is actually what we get for final result, which is perfectly fine. The only thing I'm going to say here is that I don't like that there's this like row of hard edges around the outside of the letters. I like just the pure dots at the side. And we're going to do one more thing to this before we move forward. Let's fit this with the F key. We can fit our view. The one other thing I'm going to add in is an anti-aliasing node to anti-alias the text. So I am going to go over here to Community Plugins, GLSL, to an effect, and I'm going to choose the LS FX AA GL, which puts anti-aliasing on this. And I'll show you why I like this particular one for this effect, which is if we go to the side a little bit, we might see it better. You'll notice that if we bypass the anti-aliasing, I like how this changes with the anti-aliasing on to a more, it has a nicer look to it. It's cleaner. But as you can see, it really emphasizes this like really bright set of pixels around the edges of each of the letters. And I'm not crazy about that. I want to just have this nice, the inner shading that's occurring in it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually trim that in. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my 3D extrude node and I'm going to clone it. At least I think I'm going to clone it. Try that again. There we go. And I'm going to go, I'm going to clone it, and then I'm going to hit 1 so I'm viewing the clone. And I'm going to switch the clone, currently all the properties, because it's a clone, all the properties are linked to the original node. But I don't want my dots node or my rendering style to be dots for the moment. I want to unlink it. So I'm right clicking and then I'm clicking on unlink so I can change this. And I'm going to switch it back. I I happen to use Giro, so I know this works. I'm going to keep this so that what I can do is if I look at my alpha channel, I get a nice clean alpha channel. Whereas if I go back to my original node, you'll see that my original node, the alpha channel, is a bunch of dots. I don't want a bunch of dots because if I pull in, if I start to, if I erode inwards, I'm going to eliminate all the dots out of this, which would be bad. I just want to take the outer edges in. So I'm looking at my alpha channel. I'm going to be eroding this in just a smidge so that we can, so that we will eliminate these outer pixels. Okay, so back on the 3D, what we're going to do here is we're going to put on an erode smooth, and I'm going to just type in erode, and I'm going to pick erode smooth. And for the erode smooth, we don't have to take it in very much. The first thing we need to do is we need to enable having it affect the alpha channel. So make sure you check the alpha channel. And then for the size, basically if you keep it at 1, it doesn't erode in. It's basically 0 to 1, nothing happens. But we're only going to take this in a very, very small amount. We're going to take it in exactly 1.1 pixels. So I've set it to a size of 1.1. Okay. And then I'm also going to, because I want this to be smoother, this isn't really, it's hard to tell from here. But actually, we can see a little bit of the erode. But I want to also put another anti-aliasing node onto this as well, because I wanted to apply anti-aliasing to this before I merge the two, so that it will be smooth as it takes away from the other node. So what I'm going to do is put in another community, and I'm just going to put in FX AA, and we can, whoops, that went in the wrong spot. I'm going to connect the LS FXAA to the erode smooth, and we're going to view it. And whoa, that gets a weird looking result. That is not the result I got the other day. Ah, that's interesting. I am double checking and making sure everything is set up correctly. Everything looks correct. Well, we're going to keep going with this for the time being. Whoa. Okay. Well, we're not going to worry. We're going to just continue, as I say. What we're going to do now is use this as a mask to drive, to take away from this. So I'm going to go back to our original, and we're going to put a merge node in. But instead of having our merge node go into the B, which is our background, by default, Natron sets the B as the background. I'm going to have it come into our A input. That way it is going to composite over nothing, which is going to hopefully eliminate to basically the alpha channel. And so if I take the mask input to the merge node and connect it to our anti-aliasing node, we wind up with a much nicer, you can see we've eliminated, let's take a look, it'll be more obvious. Here we can see those extra pixels around the edge, and when I switch back to the merge node, we've eliminated those. So we have, it looks a lot brighter. Our Natron looks a lot cleaner around the edges. And let's just, one more time from this size, you can see we get these nasty pixels, whereas here it looks nice and clean. All right, so that's the next step. What we're going to do after this is we are going to chuck in well, we're going to actually add another merge node a little later. What we're going to do is put a multiply in here. So we're going to put in a multiply node. And the reason we're putting in this multiply, and I'm going to leave this little space here between the merge node and the multiply node for another merge node later, because we're going to add text above this. But what the multiply node is going to do is we're going to brighten up the pixels of that Natron, and we're going to brighten it up. We're actually going to animate this a lot. So at the beginning, what we're going to do, for now, we're going to just take this up. Let me get to and we're going to set this to a value of 30. And it doesn't look like it did much because these are already white. So actually, I'm going to reset this to 1 so that we can see this better with the next step. Below this, we're going to actually put another merge node in. Okay. And for this merge node, what we're going to do is pipe a solid in. Now, a lot of people use constants. I like constants as well. The big difference between a constant and a solid is that a constant has alpha channel, whereas a solid doesn't. But we're just going to be using the solid to tint. So I'm going to just put in a solid. Why use more than you absolutely need? So I'm going to plop the solid in. And we're going to ultimately be turning this a green. At this point, we're just going to pick a random green. And we're going to multiply this solid color over our white color. So I double click on my on my merge node. I switch this to multiply, and we are getting nothing. Yes, because our solid doesn't have an alpha, we have to enable our alpha channel. And right now, we're not seeing much. I am just double checking and making sure I have everything set right. I do. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to pull this back a little bit. We're going to add a more neutral green that has a little bit of other colors into it as opposed to a pure green. The reason for this is that I want the blue and the red to ultimately affect this. We are also going to be changing this later. We're going to actually sample from something else. But I want to go back to my multiply. I'm hoping that by adjusting this... Oh, duh. That's why. I was still on alpha.
And I didn't see that either.
I'm like, why am I not seeing this? It should have colored it when we had the green. So make sure you're back in RGB mode as opposed to looking at the alpha like we were just at. I did not switch it back. So when we're in RGB mode, now if we look at if we go back, I'm going to start it off at over. Over, if we just have over, which is the default, we wind up with our solid over our multiply. And we're going to set that to multiply. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that, and every place that our text is white, it's going to turn it to the color of our solid. So if this would have worked with our other green as well. I thought that was originally the problem, but as you can, whoops, I didn't select it. There we go. Why is that not? Hold on. I'm having a problem here. There we go.
There you go.
I don't know why that wasn't selecting, but you can see the green worked as well. Okay, so we'll switch back. I'm going to chalk that up as an interface bug due to the live stream. Okay, so what does the multiply node do here? If we set it back to 1, which was its default, it looks pretty good. But if we increase it up to 30, we can make it really like glow. This is beyond, it makes the pixels in the front glow. And this is going to be, once we start actually compositing this in, because this isn't actually, if I'm not mistaken, you can see our alpha channel. I'm looking back at our alpha channel. Our alpha channel, a lot of these pixels have gray values in them. And we want to make sure that every pixel is seen when we composite this over our background. The reason we're bringing the value up is so that those gray values will also show up. And that will actually be our end result when it's done. So I'm going to hit A and bring us back. For now, you know what? Well, let's bring the value of the multiply back down to 1 so that we can see it as it's as Natron wants to see. That way we can see the errors as they occur, but that will become more apparent as we go along. All right. So now what I want to do, right. I want to give this a kind of a glowy effect to it. Right now, these are very solid little dots. I want to make them glow a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, there's another node in the community plugins under the GLSL nodes under effect called EWAGL. Okay. And when we do that, when we add that to it, you can see that it puts a little bit of anti-aliasing around the edges. Each one of the pixels becomes a little softer around the edge. And when we take up that multiply a bit, you can see those pixels become a lot brighter as well. So that is going to help emphasize. It's going to anti-alias the edge. So if we look at it before the anti-aliasing and after the anti-aliasing, it makes the pixels look go from this really harsh, especially like here. These are very, let's put this up to 30 again, 30, where it's really bright. We're starting off, I'm currently looking at our merge with the solid, and I'm now going to look at our anti-aliased output, and you can see that it makes it a lot softer and they read a lot better, and it makes it look more glowy and digital and technical, which will aid in the final effect. So let's zoom back out, and this is where our effect looks like. So before we add the anti-aliasing, after, that looks a lot more readable, doesn't it?
Looks good.
Okay. So the problem is that I also want to, I think it's potentially too heavy. I want to be able to control this and dim it down. So I'm going to put this off to the right here a little bit. And I'm actually going to add another merge node. And I'm going to merge it with the original over it. So I'm going to take our original pixels, these pixels, and we're going to superimpose those over the other. And we'll take it off for right now. And we're going to just take a look at exactly what that does up close. When I connect the above, I always think of A as above and B as below. So I'm going to take the above, merge it above what's already there, and we can see it makes it glow that much more.
It gives you your hot spots back. It looks really nice.
It gives me my hot spots back, right. Except for I keep the hot spots green. I want to keep them in that green tone. I don't want to eliminate it to white. We could do using another blend technique. But I believe I'm also going to take this down to, I'm going to take the merge for the pixels on the edge down because they're glowing too much. So I'm going to take them down to, somewhere in a range of about 5, just about. So I'm making them half as bright as they were. Okay? This keeps our hotspots in the center, But if we, so this is before and after, we can see around the edges, it helps emphasize some of those these edge pixels to make them, again, read better. Okay. And from this size, we'll just take a look at it. Okay. That's just a personal, this is, you can not add that if you want.
Tweak as
So,
necessary.
yeah, tweak is necessary. These are just how I did the original one. And this is an approximation. Although I did nail the exact same value I had in the other. Okay, so I'm gonna do something now that's a little different. I'm going to split my view. I'm going to split my view. If I click up here to the left of my viewer, if I left click, I have the option to split the area. I'm going to split it horizontally. And what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to add a new viewer node. Okay. And I'm going to connect it to what we had. And I'm going to control, I should do that a little slower. For viewer 2, if I hold down the control key, it creates these little dots. And I'm going to grab at the center point of each of the link, I call them pipes. And I grab and I pull it out so that it's off to the right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a waveform. Now the waveform is a community plugin. If I right click and go to our community plugins, I believe it's under is it utility? It used to be utility at one point. We switched it around a lot. It's under draw. So under draw, there's you can pick waveform. And waveform shows basically the pixels of whatever we're seeing over here. It's showing us our values. This is an IRE scale. I don't know how to, I think, it's an intensity. Basically, the bottom red line is a 0. And this top, there's 3 things. This is the 50% brightness, and this is 100% brightness. And you can see we actually have pixels. If we look in at this, I don't know if this is very visible in the live stream. I'm actually going to do something here. I'm going to add after my waveform, I like to add in a multiply. And this is really useful when dealing with a waveform because sometimes the pixels get too hard to see. So consider the multiply as after it as a brightness control. So I'm going to crank up my brightness so that these become more visible. And I can really crank this up a lot if I want to. And now I can see what's going on with my waveform a little bit better. One of the other things about our waveform is that by default, I'm going to double click on my waveform. Natron works in linear gamma space. It's a linear program, but for some reason the waveform node is set to Windows display gamma, which is a display gamma of 2.2. So we need to set this so that it actually matches the workspace or the Natron working space gamma. So I'm going to set this to 1. And what that will do is it's actually shrinking it. It shrank it down a bit. I think, you know what, for the demoing this better, I'm going to just temporarily disable this multiply node. So I'm going to hit D to disable it. And now we can see the entire brightness. You can see that it's dark. We have darker pixels over here and brighter pixels over here. So as it goes from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, this is the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. This is our N right here. These are the dark pixels. And this is the uppercase N. this is the lowercase n, and this area has the brighter pixels. So if we put our display gamma back to 2.2, you can see this is below our 50% IRE level. This is 50% brightness. I want to get that back up. This is mainly so we can see it better at this point. The other thing is that this isn't very detailed. Now, depending on how powerful your PC is, changing this to a lower value can be bad. But I'm going to be changing this for now down to 2. So I have more detail in here. And for the effect we're going to be pulling off, we're actually going to be turning this into an effect in a little while. But this is a very useful, Waveform is an incredibly useful tool.
That we could spend a whole hour on just by itself.
Yeah, I could. I was demoing it to Tom a little while back, and it was this is one of my favorite things. And I actually, if we do another one of these, I will dedicate an entire one just to showing you a little bit more about the waveform. But today the goal is to turn this into our effect. So while I was demoing this to Tom, we had discovered a fun little thing, which is under our GSL sources. There's a lovely source here called Puffy Noise, Croc Puffy Noise. And Croc Puffy Noise, if anybody doesn't know what Croc Puffy Noise is, this is Croc Puffy Noise, and I'm going to rewind it and sort of play it. It's this really neat kind of swirly cloud texture.
Yeah, you need to up the speed a little bit to.
Yeah, I think I actually did. Let me double check what I set the thing to in my. I kept it at its default for what we're going to be doing. Because while it doesn't look like it's doing much here, once we pipe it into this waveform, it's actually going to do a lot. And we're actually going to disable the multiply because we really don't need it. So now if we rewind our view and we hit play, we can see that this creates this really cool looking, almost landscape-like effect here. And we're going to be playing with this. We're going to actually, what we're going to do is, first thing we're going to do is, regarding this, I'm eliminating that point. Whoops, I seem to have paused. Give me a second. My Natron seems to be, there we go. It's probably paused because of the live stream. That's happened to me in the past. In some of our tests. So what I'm going to do here for for our waveform is below it. What I want to do is I want to eliminate these red lines because I want to use this as a landscape. And the cool part, I don't know if everybody can see this, but the red lines aren't actually entirely there. The green overlaps it. They're sort of transparent. So we can get rid of that red by simply putting this through a shuffle node. And then taking for the shuffle node, instead of using, telling our red to be red, we're going to switch it. So, okay, for people who aren't familiar with what the shuffle node is, the shuffle node allows you to combine pick and choose between channels from either source A or source B. B being, again, I call it the background, or the base. In this case, this is coming into our B. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take our red channel for this from our waveform, and we're going to be shifting it over so that it's going to use the blue channel, the B blue channel, and that. Just by doing that, we eliminate those red lines, and we have a pure waveform. Kind of cool. Simple way to get that into a sort of a landscape. So Now, the biggest problem we have is, of course, this is not very... I don't like this line here. I want this to be at a lower point so that this is more of a landscape. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a transform node under here. So I'm going to hit T for transform. And for our transform, we're going to lower our Y value of this down to negative. We're going to take it down to negative 192. Oh, excuse me, negative 195. Because we're going to, well, the other thing I want to do is I want to take this and I want to scale it up so that it's bigger when it comes by. So we're going to take and for our scale on the on our transform node, we're going to click on this 2 so that we can gain access to both our X and Y. We're not going to be doing uniform scaling. This is currently set to uniform scale. I'm going to reset it to default. I'm going to click on that 2 so that we get access to our X and our Y. And I'm going to set our Y value to 1.5. So it's twice as high. And I don't think I'm getting the same result I got yesterday when I made this. I'm also going to switch our, I want to also switch our filtering from cubic to bilinear. And what that's going to do, that's going to change how the individual pixels sample when they are upscaled. I want it to get more of a digital look, and cubic tends to be a little softer. I want it to be harsh, sort of old CG. So we're going to do that, and it's going to just make it look a little harsher.
Going for an 80s style.
Yeah, something a little more 80s. All right. Wait a minute. I'm just double checking things. This is looking right. Okay, so this is our background. We're going to be superimposing it over this. Whoops. Why is that not working? I think my Natron has... Oh, I know what it is. I was set to viewer 2. There we go.
So I think Natron just told you might want to save this.
No, actually what it was is that because I have 2 viewer nodes, I always put usually when I put a waveform in, I started off in a second view. Because I usually use the waveform for a lot of things. In this case, we don't really need it because this is going to be now we're going to be merging it into a single effect.
Right.
So I'm going to actually eliminate our second view again, and we're going to whoa. Okay, hold on for 1 second. Oh, that was unexpected. Okay. Pardon me while I reset my interface. This is the only problem with doing things live. The lag is... Come on. There we go. All right. So let's bring our node graph, whatever, curve editor, and our dope sheet, and we'll eliminate this, and we should be back to where we were. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
Little glitch.
Just a little one. All right. So looking okay. That was weird. Let's make sure we have our viewer selected. I'm going to hit 1 and select our transform node over here. We're going to add a merge layer off of it. We're going to merge our Natron over it. And I'm getting very, very different results than I got the other day. So I am going to just double check what I have here to make sure that everything is set up correctly. And if this doesn't... Oh, Natron. Well...
Little bit of
I can't tell you why this is giving me the wrong information. You know what? I think, I'm wondering if I did a negative scale. Well, I'm switching it to a negative scale because I think I want to have, no, actually, no, I don't. This is acting very different than it did the other day. That's okay. We'll just bring it down. We're going to just keep bringing this down. What I want to do is just bring this down until the this white line is below the bottom of our screen. I'm not worried about how big it is. We'll just bring it down like that. Okay?
That looks good.
But that is making me think this needs... I just want to verify that we're going to get a nice animation out of this. This might not look exactly the same as it did before, or did on the demo, but...
And I would dare say you could go into the puffy noise, and there might be a setting to increase the height of the puffy parts of the noise to help accent the clouds.
I'm looking at my puffy noise in the original one right now, and it's coming up the same as what it is here, so I don't know.
I don't see anything for height anyways. Yep.
But that's okay. As we can see, when we scrub through, we get this nice panning graphic underneath it that looks kind of nice. It's not exactly the same. I would have liked a little bit more overlap. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, just because it isn't overlapping, is I'm going to set this to 2.
Well, let me put you on the spot right here. We'll have a place for the Natron project actually in the description after this is over.
Yes, we'll definitely upload.
I'll put you on the spot.
Do you want me to upload this version or the original version?
We'll upload them both.
Yeah. Okay. And all right, so this has gotten us to this point. And let me just verify a few things.
Of course, everybody knows that it's just fun to go through on your own and have a whole bunch of happy accidents that look really cool. So
that's true. That's true. Well, 90% of this was Gino happy accident.
Well, we won't tell anybody that.
Sure, we will. I'm not against happy accidents, but the key thing is that right now the problem we face is that our original Natron here. I'm going to zero this out. This isn't as bright. This isn't bright enough. So this is why we have the multiply node in here that was set to 30. When I now reveal or make this visible again, or activate it, now our Natron is significantly brighter. And it looks a little overblown at this point, but that will get resolved in a little while. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to chuck in a FXT Glowy. And this is a community plugin. I believe this is under just regular filters. Yep. And FXT Glowy. This is after our merge node. There we go. It's a little bit too much at this point, I think. Actually.
Can you ever have too much neon glow?
Yeah, I think we actually going to keep it. We're going to keep it there. When we get to actually animating some stuff, we're going to start animating properties in a little while. So the last thing we need, and I'm going to have to upload this. We're going to have to add in our original we had VFX with, and that was actually created with a font I made a while ago called Vex, which I made for video games. It's a vector. It's supposed to be simulated vector format, and I'll make sure that we have that available for download. But you can use any font here as a stand-in for the time being. So what we're going to do is back up here. We're going back up to just above our multiply in the chain, and after where we merged our original Natron text back after the two anti-aliasing. We're going to add another merge node after that. And over here, we're going to add in a text node. And we're going to, for the text, I'm going to use, in my case, Vex. This is the font I used, and I'll show you what Vex looks like. It's very small. It's very thin. Oops. So what I'm going to do is set the Vex font size to 200. I'm going to also Sorry, I'm just, right. We're going to be changing this so that it says VFX with, let me move my mouse out of the way so that it's not going, with, and then we're going to hit return, and that will give us our graphic. And we're going to put this, if we go back to our end result, we didn't merge it. Take our merge, connect the A input into the text, and that will put it over. And now we can adjust it and put it where it needs to be, which is up about here. And obviously the VFX width is way, 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 way too bright. So what I'm going to do is at the we're going to just take this value here, the mix value, and we're going to just take it down in increments until it starts looking closer to the levels of everything else. That's about good right there. So we'll say 0.1%. So I think it's time to start animating some stuff. So let's see. We're going to go back to our gimmick node, our 3D extrude, and we're going to go to frame 1. And at frame 1, we're going to set the we're going to set the Y angle to 90 degrees so that we start off with the Natron facing us. And we're going to insert a key, so set a key for it. And that should set a key for the 3D extrude, the clone as well, so we don't have to worry about adding one there. And one other thing we need.
So just if you don't see that orange pipe between the two, you may have done something wrong. And
right. To clone a I don't know if I actually stated this. To clone a node, you hit Alt K. I should have probably right clicked. I'm so used to doing the hotkey for it.
I think it's
to
up on
clone
edit.
a node,
Yep, further up.
Under edit, clone node. It's right here, and it's Alt K, and that creates a clone, which is this. And clones are automatically linked. Basically, every attribute is linked by default until you uncheck it or change it back like we did before. So I apologize for not mentioning how to make a clone if I missed staying Alt K. Okay. We'll keep here. I just I went to view our I'm directly viewing this. Okay. I need to actually, I want this to happen, the entire animation to happen over, I think 240 frames was what I decided to do it at. So, which means that every 60 frames, we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. But we don't actually have to, I think, hold on, let me just double check something here. I take it back. At frame 146, that's what I did the original one to. It's an arbitrary number. I set the Y angle to 360 degrees so that this should animate. Now, I'm going to let people know I am using Natron 2.3.15, the snapshot.
Which I think is release candidate 18 that's out on the GitHub. So just go to Natron's website, and where the download section is, click on the GitHub and go to the release section and look for release candidate 18.
Right. So I'm hoping if people can actually, I haven't checked the feed. I would hate to think that people are not actually seeing this.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that there's audio coming through.
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I actually want to get back here. Oops. So this will give us our animation, and if we go back through this, we can see it at various states through as it rotates around. And we can see that it gets brighter. The big problem we have is right now, it's when we watch the animation down here at the bottom, if I connect up to the FTX glowy, it's really bright the entire way through, and I don't want it to be quite this bright all the way through the animation. What I want it to do is when it's facing away, I want it to be bright when it's sort of facing us, but not quite this bright. It's just, this is like lightsaber bright. What we're going to do is we're going to actually darken this down by animating. I think I animated the multiply. I did. So I'm going to go back to my multiply. And on my multiply, oh, wait. Before we go ahead, I'm going to go back to my gimmick node. I do want to do one other thing, which is I want to go into my curves. I want to make sure I'm adjusting. I want this to, at the end of the animation. So currently this is a linear animation. You can see it starts off at frame 0, and it goes in a linear motion all the way up to frame 146. At frame 146, however, I don't want this to be linear. I want this to ease into it so that it slows down. So I'm selecting this point. I'm making sure first over here, I want to make sure I have my Gimmick 3D Extrusion 1 here, and I get that by double-clicking on this. And then, and by the way, I only have one property showing at any given time, so we don't create confusion. I select the Y angle for the gimmick 3D, and then I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to interpolation, and I'm going to go to horizontal interpolation for this point. And that will automatically make it so that this eases into the hold at the end. Now, if everything worked right, I had a problem the other day where just going to double check this on on our clone, because the other day when I checked this on my clone, it didn't actually show it, which is weird. Yeah, it's not showing it. I think it's working, but we'll just double check and make sure that everything is animating. Yeah, everything's animating fine. When I did this originally, I had to restart Natron to get it to update correctly. But yeah, it is what it is. Okay, so that creates our easing for the logo. So it'll spin and it'll slow down as it eases into frame 146 and stop. Okay. Next, we're going to go to our multiply, and we're going to animate our multiply. So we're going to go back to frame 0, and I want to make sure I have the exact values. Okay, so at frame 0, I want to bring our multiply down a lot. We're going to bring it down to 1/10 of this value, so that it starts off at 3. Okay, so this is we're gonna have it start off at 3, and then at frame 60, because originally when I had originally set up this animation, I had originally intended it to, believe it or not, I wanted this to rotate continuously in 360 degrees, but then I was like, oh no, I got this whole, it looked weird with the bottom. I was going to have it just looping animation, but I couldn't get the bottom. Well, there's ways to make the bottom loop, but it would have been a lot more of a pain in the butt.
Start all over again.
Yeah. And I was like, I wasn't about to do that at that point. But anyway, the original animation is 360 frames. Currently, we're only at 250 frames. We'll adjust our frame range at the end. It's not going to affect this too much because most of our animation happens long before 250. So at frame 60, we're pretty much have the Natron is facing away from us. When it's facing away from us, I didn't want it to feel like it was all that legible. I wanted to bring it down a lot. So I darkened the value here for our multiply. Oh, wait, I do need to go back. I didn't keyframe our animation at the beginning. So I got to go back to frame 1. Make sure I right click on my value here. And I want to set a key for all dimensions for the value of the multiply. So it's set to 3 at frame 1. Okay? And then we're going to just go here and type in frame 60 in our frameometer. And on frame 60, I'm going to change the value, well, it's facing away from us, down to 0.4. Okay? And I chose 0.4 because I felt that it made it dark enough so that it felt like it was recessed and away from us. It makes the the terrain a lot more noticeable and the text less noticeable. So that's where we want on that. And then we're going to go to frame 120. And on frame 120, frame 121 apparently. I set it to back to 3. Which gets it back to the brightness that it's about at 3. It's about the same brightness. The Natron and sorry, I just heard something weird. At 3, the Natron is at about the same brightness as the background, the underlying landscape effect, and we want it at this point to dominate the image. So from here forward, we're going to be increasing its brightness all the way up to frame. I believe it was 180 is actually where I have it hit its brightest point. So, well, actually, it's 181. Sorry. So we'll go.
Because we know that one frame makes all the difference.
Oh, it does to my animations. It always does. I apologize. Somebody is apparently doing something in the other room, and it's making clunky noises. Okay, I'm just hearing a loud clunk every now and then. I don't know what's going on in the other room, but anyway. So then I bring it up to 30, which makes it really, really, really bright. Okay. In fact, it almost looks too bright. I'm beginning to wonder if... Huh. This might be just too bright. I'm actually thinking I want to bring this back down to maybe... I like it better at 20 now that I'm looking at it. This is closer to what I originally wanted it to look like. Let me just double check. I want to just double check something over here. Make sure I had it. No, I guess it was 30. I'm being wishy-washy. That's okay.
Use a value you like. Insert value here.
Use a value, figure out what it is, and you'll like it. You know what it is? I know why it looks. It looks too bright. It looks too bright right now because we're looking at it in a preview, a smaller preview. If we actually, if I go over our view and I hit spacebar and bring it up to full screen, and then I hit Control and hit 1 to make it. We sort of can see it at its actual size, and it's there's a little more. There's more holes in it. I actually think our Natron may be at a different value than it was in my other one, which is why this may seem different brightness. The pixels are a different size. Anyway, I'm going to hit F to get that back to fit the view, and then I'm going to take it back down. Okay. What is the next thing? There was another part of this. Oh yes, we are going to also animate our. I'm a little concerned.
Oh, the video effects with.
I think my Natron just
Didn't like you zooming in and then
froze.
back out.
All right, so I'm going to let people know right now that one of the things you're going to want to do here is if this happens to you, click this pause on the rendering of it. What happened is one of the GL nodes glitched out because I was zoomed in. That sometimes happens when you zoom in and out on GL nodes. At least it happens for me. I don't know if it happens for other people, but the reason that my Natron has crashed, I'm going to have no response. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this pause button. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to save my project. And I'm going to just call this we're going to call this vector live. Oops. And I apologize for just hitting the mic. And I'm going to put in an _01 so that we can do our increments as we go. And hopefully that will save. And if it didn't save, it usually does save. I'm waiting for my cursor. There we go. It should have saved. There we go. I have confirmation up here that we've saved. I'm going to have to close this and restart it.
And while he's doing that, I'll bring my screen up and I will show you something quick while it's loading up.
Well,
maybe.
that you're doing it there. I'm going to switch over to you, I believe, on Jitsi. Let me.
We got screen 1, right?
I'm just making sure people on my end can see it.
Okay.
All right.
I think if I move this, we're winging it here, so hopefully I don't lose anybody.
Uh-oh. I think both of my Natrons crashed. Oh. Yep, Natron has crashed. All right, let me.
F11. I move that out of the way. You should be seeing my wrong screen. Let me try that again. There we go. Sorry about the technical issues here. Oh, I'm still not seeing it. Oh yeah, it was. Okay, sorry. Probably could have waited for you to load and it wouldn't have taken so long.
Something has gone very, very weird. I'm getting infinite effect over here.
Okay. So now
my OBS has switched over to capturing the wrong screen for some reason.
Make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it does look like my stream's at least displaying what I wanted it to display. It's just a basic setup with the extrude 3D. One of the things that kind of stink with the extrude 3D is you're only going to get a white white object. So how can you colorize that? Just go ahead and throw in a merge node. Actually, I'm going to press the M key, merge node in there, and then either a solid or a constant, doesn't matter. Grab a constant, pipe that into B, and let's go ahead and change this color to, let's say, a red color.
I'm not sure that's coming through on my live stream on Facebook.
Mine is, but it's going to be quick, and I don't know how to get it to go onto yours, but okay. Hopefully they can I'll describe everything. So I added a merge node, and I'm going to change it from over to color burn. And if you do a color burn, you see it changes the color. One of the nice things about the color burn is you can adjust your slider up and down and give yourself some shading where your highlights are either a white color or they're more the color of the letters themselves. So that's kind of cool.
I'm back.
Okay, so that's one way to do it, and that's how I did it in the video that you saw on Facebook website. So back to you, and we're back.
Right. Okay, so as I said, the reason I'm just letting people know, this project somewhere up in here, a node up in here is cause this project if you load it without the video or pause.
I'm not seeing anything for you. There we go.
Okay.
Now I am.
All right. If you have the view, the rendering unpaused at the start, it will lock up. These nodes will lock up, and the whole thing will lock up at the start. So by just clicking this pause before you save, it will guarantee when you unpause it after it's fully loaded that it will render correctly. So we're back to where we were. Okay. So just remember when you go to save to hit the pause button. That will be our last step every time. Okay, so I was at the point where we were going to do, let me make sure my animations have all saved. Yes, it looks like we have all our animation. I am just going to double check my curves for this and make sure that all of these values are matching. Oh, yes. Here for our curves for the multiply. Okay, so here's our multiply. We're making sure we go to our curve editor. We select the value for it. I'm just at the end, not at the beginning. I'm not worried about the beginning starting off harsh because we're halfway through a rotation. We're going to take this and we're also going to change its interpolation, the last point. Select this. This will select all the RGB channels here, or RGBA, and we're going to select them. We're going to right click. We're going to go to Interpolation, Horizontal Interpolation. That way we'll ease into that last, into this last brightest point, and that way it doesn't suddenly just kind of go up to that hot spot and just get super duper bright, and then it looks like it kind of instant on and stops. This will ease it into it so that it kind of brightens up and becomes intense and glowy. Okay, so once we have that, now we're going to go back and we're going to work on this VFX width, because obviously,
does your screen still have the save dialog box up on it? Because that's what I'm seeing.
The save dialog box
for Natron, yeah, it still says save, discard, or cancel on the screen. I mean,
does it? Hold on.
Horrible, let me just. But...
Mine's showing the stream. Let me just. Hold on. Where's my live stream? Huh.
Never mind. No? It was me. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
It was my fault, not your fault.
Sorry, everybody. Okay, so for our for the mix node for the VFX width, we're going to be animating this obviously from 0 to its current value. And we're going to be doing this from frame, let's see, where did I have the frame? I just want to make sure I have the right frames. Yes, we want to start it at frame 146, which is where Natron comes into full view. We want to set our mix here. We want to set a key for it. And we're going to set a key, and then set it to 0. So it's not visible. And then all I did is I clicked this 10 frames ahead. And 10 frames ahead, I just set it to what I had before, which is 0.1. Then, I believe on the curve editor, let me just verify this. I thought I had. Apparently, yes. All right. So for our curve editor, we're going to select the mix node. And I actually ease it in at the beginning of this because I wanted to spend a little more time dark and get brighter as it towards the end. And I don't mind this just sort of fading in and then just stopping at the end. So we're going to set this one, the beginning, to horizontal interpolation. And that will give us a start off at 0, and then it will, oops, and then it will, as it goes, we can see it will come in relatively rapidly. It's hard to see it real time, but here, we'll try and do it frame by frame. Take it back here. Go frame by frame through this section. Just give it a little bit of time to update. And we can see how it fades in. We can see that it fades in a little more gradually on this part. But as this isn't as important as the Natron. The Natron, because it's so it glows so harsh, I wanted to have that ease. I'm not as worried about this because it isn't made up of a bunch of little pixels. It doesn't look like a bunch of little lights. And this is pretty much everything other than now just setting it up so that we can render it out. I don't know how long our stream has been going on.
Over an hour. I think we almost an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. Boy. And maybe you want to show the animation one more time and let them render it out themselves maybe.
So yeah, you can just at the end, I'm going to pause this and we're going to switch over to the animation. Whoops. Let's switch over to our animation, and here we go. This is what the animation looks like. Of course, I added fades at the beginning and the end, and I added in
if you want to see the animation smoother, go to Natron's Facebook
yes,
page.
you can look at the Natron Facebook page. And yeah.
We'll put links to the file there so that you have it as well. I'm seeing a great black screen right now.
Yep. I'm going to switch back to moi. There we go.
There you go.
So, everybody.
Thank you for sticking
Eat your
around.
vegetables. And enjoy your Natron.
It wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be tech-wise. I thought maybe we would have a lot more glitches, but you know, it was interesting to say the least. Fun.
Okie dokie. Let's set this to. Oops, I want to go back to up there. All right.
There we go.
Well, everybody. Yeah, I'll have a great night.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us for an hour. Thank you for coming up with the idea. And, you know, if people like this and want to see something like this again, give us suggestions and we'll try it again, right?
Yeah. Try it. Hopefully it'll go smooth. This is pretty smooth. Have a good one.